Hello and welcome to another episode of the Edufuturists podcast. Not just any episode of the podcast. This is the final episode of 2024. So when you're listening to this, it's probably going to be post-Christmas. Well, it is going to be post-Christmas. You're going to be thinking about New Year's resolutions and New Year, New You and all that kind of stuff. But this is me and Steve roundup review. It's a big review, part number 6. But actually, we're going to be talking about all things 2024 and how excited we are about 2025. Mate, how are you, buddy?
Good, mate. Yeah, really excited for Christmas. We've met today, face-to-face, and now we're doing this, which is an interesting one. Because I said, I'll see you soon, mate. And then we were like, oh, no, we've got a podcast later. Really excited, planned it, our typical thing. But you know what? I think what I'm excited to do is round it up. We've had a wonderful 2024. If we think just before 2024, it was probably, where Dan was still with us, we were having conversations around Edufuturists' existence and what would that look like. And we brought it back for January 2024, and we have had a barnstorm in 2024. I have loved it, mate. But the bit that I'm excited to share, as much as we can do, is all of the stuff in terms of the future gazing, the foundations that we've laid, and where we're going to take it. So we did our last roundup that you've listened to. Post brilliant, and with everything else, we've had some wonderful guests that you will have been listening to. And if you haven't, go back. Please listen. If this is the first episode that you're picking up from somewhere, or somebody's mentioned us, or you've heard our name and you just think, we have a massive back catalogue beyond the ones that we're just going to explore and review. And we are so proud of the people that we've had on and continue to have on. So yeah, let's do a bit of a review. Where do we start?
I think I wonder whether we start with, let's start with the podcast that since the last review. That's a good place to start. And then we can talk about some of the big projects we've been in, shall we? So I suppose that first one, episode 268, was with Louise Atwood from AQA. That was a great conversation. And we don't ever hide away from the fact that we have lots to say about assessment and lots to say about exams. And we've said many, many times that assessment, exams particularly, seem to be the tail that wags the dog. And like somehow you've got to get endpoint, terminal, high stakes assessments and the performance tables that go with it, and then the Ofsted ratings that go with it, and then the league tables and who's who that come with it, and the pressure that creates. And that conversation with Louise blew that apart, didn't it? Really,
I think so. I think when you're in education, and also sometimes when you're outside of it, now that we are supporting it from the peripheries and the bird's eye view of it, that actually sometimes you just forget some of the processes, but also some of the players that maybe having an influence positively or negatively on it. It was great to hear from Louise, an educator that was in design tech that is now influencing assessment rather than just endpoint, and what does that look like, and the ongoing stuff and the great work that some awarding bodies have. If you're from an awarding body and you're listening, we want to have a conversation with you, not just educators and leaders, but also what really flagged up and remember is around the real slow process of off-qual and those bits of actually how it can take 6 or more years to change an assessment or the endpoint assessment. And I remember thinking, oh, that's like an ice age. It probably moves slower than a glacier, but actually through the current crisis in terms of climate crisis, it's probably moving slower than a glacier. And
yeah, well, that is very true, isn't it? And you think, like, they were talking about that 3-year cycle, and generally a 3-year cycle. And literally yesterday, I was speaking to somebody who had listened to that episode and was blown away that that process takes. And I know that we can speed that up and we can almost like make the horses go a little bit faster, to use Bob Harrison's analogy there. But realistically, this idea of iterative and responsive curriculum, and therefore the assessment that goes with it, is not necessarily at the hands of. We talked about it, it's like the exam boards and the awarding bodies, and actually there are layers and layers and layers and layers, particularly in the UK system, and then even beyond around the world, that limit the ability for innovation, and understandably so. We talked about that as well. We acknowledge we're not stupid. We're not them people that are just thinking that it has to be a certain way, right? And that we're not naive enough to think that it could be innovation and we can just change everything overnight. because we do know that there is a level of integrity. We talk about academic rigor. We talk about making sure that young people are ready and the skills that go with that, and employers and all the other bits that go with it. But there does seem to be like a mismatch, a disconnection between the innovation that we need and the compliance. And it's like, we both worked in colleges and schools, right? Where they're talking about this. We want innovation, and then there's somebody else spinning this thing. Yeah, but we need compliance, and we don't. It's not either or. How do we make both of those things sing and work together? Is really what the conversation was about, wasn't it?
I think so, and yeah, it was really, really, really good to hear the foresight in terms of meeting students where they're at, changing assessments, so it's not just that point where they're dictated to, that they can meet it, accelerate, decelerate learning and their assessment and progress. I'm excited for it. I think we need to do more of it. We need to be more considered. And people always talk about speed and efficiency and all this kind of thing. And I was like, sometimes you can be efficient at lightning speed. Sometimes you can be inefficient. But I think we are moving at a snail's pace. And at times, in terms of some of our processes and systems, it feels, could it be that there are too many people involved that are making money out of education and need a finger in a pie? Because if you removed it, there is no longer a salary or some funding coming from it. And that's just the way it feels. That's not a personal thing. That's just my opinion. But if you are listening, we want to have a conversation with you, Akol. We want to have a conversation at that level to then think, right, if we are incorrect in our assumptions and you are trying to accelerate or some great work happening, like we did with Louise and the work that they're doing at that awarding body, if you're doing work at that level, come and speak to us, because people want to hear it and are listening to us and telling us how important those conversations are. Let's give your voice in that space, because if you're not, then we can only speak of what we expect or what we think, I presume.
Yeah, and also what we experience. Yeah, I agree. And interestingly, what I think is worth just reiterating there, and if you go back and listen to that episode 268, because Louise is talking about some of the incredible things that they're trying to do at that awarding body in terms of moving away from high stakes linear assessment as the only method. And you remember, this is what we talked about, that we're not saying that exams are wrong. We're not saying that we should scrap exams full stop. We're talking about high stakes assessments at end of curriculum as the only measure of success. And Louise was talking about some exciting things that are on the horizon and that are already starting to be piloted, which is pretty cool. Next up on that list was 269. Episode 269 was with Neelam Palmer and Duncan Very from BETT. And that will kind of talking about that big announcement that we made recently. And depending on when you're listening to this, there may well still be tickets for the Edufuturists event at Canva pre-BETT on the 22nd of January. You're very, very welcome to join us there. The link to that will be in the show notes. But we talked about BETT, and we have been announced as media partners for BETT, which is incredible. We are super humbled and privileged and honoured to be able to do that. We're looking forward to speaking to some award winners at the BETT Awards, some exhibitors, speakers, some people that'll be attending. We're going to get around and gather some feelings and thoughts in that space. We'd love to hear from you if you're there and you want to speak to us. But yeah, that was a great conversation, wasn't it?
In conversation, a good step. I think Duncan is new to the business, wants to shake it up and move it forward, and it's great to be part of that conversation now. Neelam's been in education and leading transformation for such a long period of time. She actually spoke at the first face-to-face Edufuturists when I spoke, didn't she, Neelam? She talked and she was a keynote there, and it was wonderful to listen then and now, and actually her learning process over those however many years it's been. Wow, we've been at this for a long time and positively, and it's been a great journey. But I think having those conversations, discussing it, we are so excited. Sometimes we pinch ourselves. You know what? We've earned the right to be at BETT. We've earned to be a media partner. We do wonder how this is happening, but we are excited, and I'm sure we're going to be bringing our new tools and new technology, and we're going to be interviewing in different ways at that event. And you know what? I'm a tight Yorkshireman, so I bought a tuxedo. If you see me at BETT, I'll probably be wearing the tuxedo. I'm not being funny. It was expensive, and we're wearing it every day. And I don't just mean it was. I'm wearing it every day. I'm going to be going to interviews. I'm going to be walking around BETT. Not going to be wearing socks with it, but you'll be seeing me in a tuxedo Wednesday to Friday. Only joking. just at the
We
awards.
say he's joking. He's not joking. Like,
Socks bit's not a joke.
You want to smell him after that? No, I'm just no. Yeah, but no. But I suppose that
Don't come up
conversation.
and smell me at BETT, please. Please don't come up and smell me
Yeah,
at BETT. That's
give
not an
him a
invite.
sniff. Give him a sniff.
Yeah. You know what I smell like? Gary Barlow, Ben. You smell like Gary Barlow, you know. Come and smell me.
Take that. Yeah, have that.
Just take it, everybody. Take that.
So that conversation, I suppose, the good thing about it was about how do you get the most out of it, and how do you make it so that it's not just about technology. And that was the best thing really for me was a lot of times when you come to conferences and by nature they are, here's the new shiny toy, and they put the 2 letters on it that we talk about a lot now. Oh, here's our AI features within these tools. We talk beyond that. Like, the technology's got to be tied to purpose. It's got to be tied to what you're trying to achieve in your context. And if you go onto episode 269, you'll be able to see the buyer's report or the buyer's guide that they suggest is really, really useful in terms about thinking about what you need to do. And we did discuss that.
I think it just helps guide people in terms of if this is your first bet or your 15th or your 20th or whatever, just helps you structure some of the conversations, gives a bit of guidance, what to do, maybe some stuff to do pre-bet as well. So if you're thinking about a new technology or something that's now in your mind or something that's future gazing, work with your network and your communities and within your organization that people might have done it, might have used the tool, and then apply that to context and ask the right questions. The last thing you want to do is you're judged by some of the decisions you make. And I think there's a lot of pressure on those education decision makers to get it right every single time. You're not, that's fine, but at least this can start to shape to be more accurate in your decisions, be more informed, and also ask the right. There'll be a million different people that might support your problem that you're having and different solutions. This will help you guide to find what solution might be perfect for you that isn't always the same for everybody else in terms of impact, assessment, all of those things of show me was a conversation we had. Show me the impact that your tool is having on other organisations. Don't just tell me. Give me the data, show me the case studies, introduce me to other people, and then obviously don't make a decision there and then obviously go away and have a think about it post-bet as well. But we're excited.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. I think it's going to be a cracker. One of my all-time favourite episodes, I'm going to go, is episode 2. Oh no, totally, I got it wrong. It's not that I don't like this one. This one was great as well. I'm down dead. Episode 270 it was a great one. It wasn't great. It was brilliant. We pulled it together and we talked about snippets. We pulled together all them small little interviews that we did. Some incredible human beings that we got 10 or 15 minutes with that we pulled together from the Brilliant Festival in October. Obviously, most of you will have listened to or watched episode 266, which was that roundtable with Hugh, Tom, and Michelle. But actually, episode 270 was about snippets of small conversations with some great guests in there. Mate, what would you say from that?
Just because it was like the variation in the amount of people that we spoke to at that event. It was a great conference, and I'm looking forward to Brilliant in 2025. And again, asked as a media partner on stage and then doing the interview bit was just unbelievable. But to have those conversations from people that are women in tech and women in leadership, but also like some people that are doing some great stuff around Chester Zoo. Where did we see that one come in? Let's have a look in terms of what the digitisation and learning look like for a zoo in the building, but also the online stuff and just having that about how do you approach that? The size and scale of that organisation and the learning that happens daily in terms of its visitors, but also how they extend that for children and adults and sustainability and environment and impact. And I was like, God, this was so good. And then we talked about the knife crime and justice stuff and with people that are just so passionate education. And often when you're in a school, you only think about school as education. And we talk about learning, being lifelong learning, but also very similar to that whole thing of any place, anytime, anywhere. Learning is learning, and actually learning and education can happen in many, many different conversations. Like we often ask, how many people have done a formal qualification recently compared to how many people have watched a YouTube video and just learned something or read a book? Learning is learning. Me and you had wonderful conversations today when we met over coffee. I learned so much every time I speak to you. you learn nothing from me, but like, at least I benefit from it, mate.
Steve. I learn a lot. I do.
Don't mind me.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
But I think that's the thing where, like, we're so shackled into the education is this. It's not one thing, and redefining what education is and the purpose of it was brilliant. Like that, don't you?
See what you did there.
Great.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think what gets it for me is that it was something in the north. We've talked about this before. We're two proud northerners. It's not that we're against anybody who's listening from anywhere else in the world or anywhere else in the UK, but to have something on our doorstep like that was really powerful. So well done, Martin and the team, from brilliant. Thank you to all those people who came and gave us their time to pull that together, and also a thank you to Angel who was there helping us on that day. Angel is a newly graduated videographer, and she supported us on that day to get that out. So a massive thank you there. I am going to then do the thing of going back to saying one of my favourite episodes of all time, and it was. I think probably you count on one or two hands. We've had some incredible conversations over the years, but when you listen to some people, you just know that these people have been in this long direction of trying to make difference in education for a significant period of time. And you just know that, first of all, you know you can have a conversation. You could be doing that for hours and hours and hours. And it also feels easy that these people, you throw anything at them and they're like, yeah, it goes there. And it was a little bit of a pantomime. Is he in? Is he not? Is it working? Is it not? And that was episode 271, Unfinished Business, with Mick Waters and David Cameron. We talked about the wonderful book about the wonderful human being, Sir Tim Brighouse. That was so good, weren't it, mate?
I think those people are just, you speak to them and you just listen in awe, and you just go, how lucky are we to interview and have conversations with people like that. We have had some exceptional guests and will continue to do so. And just sit there, and it's one of those episodes where we probably didn't put a lot of input in. We probably did when people are listening naturally, but sometimes you just get in and you just go, just talk, and you can just listen, and they're just, their influence, their knowledge, but also like Sir Tim. And we mentioned the great David Price on there, and all of those people that, yes, they are intelligent. Yes, they are unbelievable, tenacious, and achieved massive things. They're just fucking really nice people. And I love just spending time with wonderful people that just make my heart sing. I'll be honest, and just listening to Mick, it's just so funny. And the fact that they just, it's like watching, and we are nowhere near that, and I don't think if we ever aspire and get anywhere near him, but the way that we banter off each other is the way that they behave. They're just, like, so funny. They're just piss out of each other. They just laugh, and I'm like, it just comes across as just real honest kindness, but just exceptional knowledge from those individuals, and they have been at the top of their game for so long now and continue to do so.
And they care, don't they? They care.
And they hand it over. They talk about passing the baton on all of the time. And Mick, I don't know if he's on the podcast or behind the scenes, but was saying he's often taking a step back and just saying, I think you need to speak to this person, because they're at that age now. We're going, we can help, but there's other people that can help now. And so Tim was one of those individuals, and so many people where we talk about saying somebody else's name and talking somebody else's name in a room when they're not there. Those are the kind of people that they are, and to spend an hour is never long enough with those individuals, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And Steve says it semi-regularly on the podcast. We could have talked all night, and genuinely, we were there thinking, oh my goodness me, there's nearly an hour gone, and I don't want to take any more of these precious time off these wonderful individuals. But I just know that there's very few times where I can just not say anything and just listen. And that's the kind of wisdom that you're talking about there. But I think what really matters from an education perspective is that these people are passionately bothered. And we talked about Howell beforehand, and we talked about him on the podcast, actually. Passionately bothered, that botheredness about making a difference. And so Tim did it for 70 odd years. These two have been doing it, I don't know exactly how long, but it's for a long time. And they're just good people. Fantastic. And then as we kind of, the final episode that we talk about on this podcast as this review, before we talk about some of the exciting things that are coming, is was a conversation with a new kid on the block, so to speak, in comparison to some of these people that are there. And AI Pioneer of the Year 2024 from our Uprising event was Matthew Weems from Bucharest, the school in Bucharest, and he talked about AI's new books around handbooks for students and educators. And what I liked about this, we titled this one episode 272. We titled it "Contextualize Your AI." And I really think that what we were trying to get to here is it's not AI for AI's sake. It's not AI that's just wrappers that are buttons to press. It's about what do we need it to do where we are. It kind of follows on from that conversation from BETT as well and some of the other technology bits. What works where you are rather than trying to one size fits all everywhere.
Yeah, and I think I don't know how some of these people do it. Like, do you speak about? There's lots of these in America and people popping up in Europe, Middle East, and Africa as well, where I was an education and a teacher, and I was tired, and I was leading digital transformation. These people are writing books and all this other stuff. And I'm like, where do you find time? But like, they are pushing the button, but also applying the learning at the coalface. So you've got Matthew who is leading the digital transformation and a lot of the CPD and the development around tech and AI. He's using it with learners. He's using it with teachers. So ultimately, it's not just a case of, I think you could do this and everything else. Actually, the great conversation is, I've tried this with my learners. I've tried this. I've done this. This is what worked. This is what I've learned. This is how I'm using it. And that's what I like, those practical examples that are really from lessons learned. Somebody is learning them lessons themselves and can tell you about them. And he'll tell you things to do, but also tell you things that we maybe shouldn't do, like, and he maybe would do differently next time. And he brings a real, honest. He's Northern. He's always honest. From Stoke, and just brings that real. Is it classed as Northern? It's not for Milton Keynes. So
yeah, them Southern softies have a nosebleed in Stoke, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think so. But I do as well. But yeah, I just think and the way that he delivers it, and the way that he talks about it, and articulates the impact, and that comes across in the book as well. Not to go into too much detail, the date's not been announced, but I love when people carry themselves into the books. Looking forward to Ben's new book coming out in January. If it's not on your wish list and there's not a pre-order link, go get it, everybody. It's a wonderful read. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
when you see those people write and tell the stories in those books and impact, the way that they do when you're with them is nice, I think, and it comes across simply in the book. It's not one that's going to take you hours to read, or days, or weeks, or months. It's just practical examples and tips that will really, really help.
Yeah, for sure. And so that kind of rounds up 2024 in terms of podcasts, and we've recorded multiple different ones. We've got some incredible people, and we've got some already in the bank ready for 2025 and beyond, and some great people lined up. And we have for those of you who don't know, if you go onto our Edufuturists website, you will be able to have a little look at and suggest a guest. If you've got somebody that you think we should speak to, you can suggest a guest in there. Go over on to the content page and then click the word podcast. You can suggest a guest partway down and maybe let us know why we should interview somebody. And if you know somebody, do an introduction. Then we'd love to. We're always looking for the right kind of conversations. So if you know somebody at Ofqual, you know somebody at DFE, you know somebody at Pearson or wherever else, and you think they need to speak to Ben and Steve on the Edufuturists podcast, then do get in touch. But this year hasn't just been about the podcast, and obviously we've got the newsletter that's gone out, new website that's gone out, which is incredible. But we've done some pretty incredible stuff that sometimes when you pinch yourself and when you're doing a review day like this, you're going, my goodness me, that is pretty epic, some of them things that we've done. And we're like, oh, we always want to push for more. I say we always want to push for more. I know what I'm like, Steve. I know Steve is he's a visionary. He's a person that you look to and you think, actually, he can encourage you, inspire you to do pretty impressive things. But I know what I'm like. I'm like, yeah, but, like a little, I don't know, get a bit excitable puppy most of the time. And when you sometimes, it's good to do this at the end of a year, isn't it? Where you just go, wow, this is some pretty. Let's just talk about some of them things.
Yeah,
Steve, incredible.
We brought back. We didn't know whether it was going to be possible, and we kind of excelled ourselves in regards to pushing out a website and this and this and this. But we were so proud to have our Uprising back in this year. Bigger than ever, better than ever in many people's opinion. And it was a venue that had to be last minute because we didn't know until the beginning of this year that we were going to do it, but it worked. It was a lovely space. Everybody said this is so Edufuturists. It was an old bus station that is now kind of like a student space. The food was vegan, and was. We often don't eat at these events, Ben, because we're so busy, but I'm told it was absolutely exceptional. We got a little bit at the end. But we brought new awards to it. We got some new partners, which were just exceptional. The people that attended it brought new diversity and people we'd never met before. And the number, even just think about it, we even talked about this, the number of people that were shortlisted, that were nominated, the number of people that and votes for those shortlisted was just absolutely off the chart. And I'm just thinking, this is absolutely bonkers. So, yeah, it's just, it was just so proud. And we even, Dan attended this year, like from the other side and everything else, but it was just great. Like, we had some wonderful speakers. Ian Phillips came and helped us and kind of did some pre-stuff and hosted a bit of a panel. We had DJ, the food, the beer, swearing. It's just us. We're not everybody's cup of tea. We get it. But our community is really, really strong. And we're proud of the fact that our community keeps giving back to us and keeps coming out and celebrating us. And yeah, I loved it, mate. It was awesome, wasn't it?
It was. And if you look at some of them people that won awards this year, it's just so good. Like thinking about people like Debs Miller, who's just been that person, as Edufuturist of the Year, who's just been in that game, doing that work, just doing their thing, and she got recognised by the community this year. And that's the thing about these awards, right? So most of you will know this already, but for those people who aren't necessarily aware of it, these awards are not Ben and Steve's favourite people, although a lot of them do sit in that category.
We love everybody. We do. So they're always going to. We're always going to be fans of whoever wins our shortlist because we love everybody. It's brilliant.
11,000 nominations into the space of people and votes into the space of people that were just in a wonderful celebrating of each other, and that's what we're about. We've said this a few times. Ultimately, we know that we keep talking about where education could go, the future, the possibilities, the vision of what could be. But we also want to celebrate those that are making a difference where they are, despite some of the, and maybe in spite of, because of all the craziness and the red tape that's around them. Some of these people like Debs Miller, like Colab, like B Dales, and there's loads of them. You can go onto our website and see some of our winners from last year. But the bit that, like we were talking about there, it's about building a community. We built this Wolfpack community. And Ian Phillips will probably, if he's listening to this, will be making some kind of wolf noise about it. But the community...
Skrillex.
To Skrillex, yeah. Ian Phillips. If anybody who doesn't know Ian Phillips, just see, like, I can't believe he's into Skrillex's class. Yeah, but it's about the community. They vote, they nominate, they vote, they choose who wins. We have a panel of judges that come in and go, we want to celebrate who's there. And then we come and we bring those people together. And it was epic. We weren't sure it was going to come together. We know a lot of people helped us out in that space. We're super grateful to all the partners that have helped us make that happen. And I suppose the excitement really is around 2025 again, that we're going again. We're moving venues. It's still edgy, it's still raw, it's still cool. It's still us in Manchester at 53-2, which is just a cool little place in the Arches under the old GMX. It's a cool space, like super cool. And we're going again, June 2025, my friend.
And are we allowed to announce what the food is?
Yes,
the most northern food on the planet, pies, everybody.
Pies.
So you get to pick a pie. Do we get mashed potato? Do we get gravy? Do we get tomato sauce, brown sauce? It's all up for grabs.
It's pie. Pie and beer.
Pie and beer, and us just having a laugh with a like-minded wackos that we are, bringing to community. If you've never been in that space before and you're listening and you want to do it, head to the website and buy your tickets. We always open ourselves up in regards to our community, that if this is the first time you've never been before, maybe never met that community, just started a new role, never heard about it, there is always a space for you in our circle, in our community. We open up and we welcome everybody, and we're excited to have you and new people, old people, and everybody else in between come together on the 26th of June 2025 in Manchester. And yeah, I'm just really excited for it. And yeah, it'll be on us before we know it, mate. We say this every year, we've got ages. But yeah, the partners are in, we've got loads, we've still got some partnership opportunities to go, and we've got to sort, but we are well ahead of the game. We got in early this year, didn't we, to get it sorted, because we knew how much work it is. But you go from that to...
But don't forget as well, by the way, just before you mention that, you can nominate, if you haven't done so already, like we said earlier, this is a public, you can tell us who they are, and I've been looking at the nominations already, that it's open. You can go on to the edufuturists.com/uprising. The nominations are all there, opportunities for the categories. We've already got a whole host in. And the best thing about this is there's a load that I have never heard of before. And that is why it matters that our community pull this together. I don't even know these people and these organisations. And that's incredible. Sorry, Steve.
But I'm excited to learn and see what they're doing. That's the bit where we just go, look at that. Oh my God, that's amazing. And it blows us away each year, the innovation that's happening and the people pushing the boundaries and the dial for education and the young people that we serve and everything else. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then just we've had that. If you think about the fact that we just one day we got a reach out on our website, and I was like, sometimes we get them, sometimes you can imagine we get a lot of spam. We get a lot of interested people that maybe just want to have a conversation and see how we can amplify their brand. But I was like, open to a conversation, let's start. And we then started working with an agency and their partners for a US audience. That was a bit of work behind the scenes that me and Ben had to do in terms of those conversations. Aren't just, yes, let's do it, and that's done, tick the box. But through those negotiations, those conversations, it transpired that quite a lot of people listen to our podcast. We love it. Glad that they still do. And some of those people were from organisations like Lenovo, Microsoft, and AMD. And through an agency in partnership with Lenovo, firstly with Microsoft, and then with AMD, we have done some US-focused webinars now on some wonderful topics around the future of education, AI in K-12, so up to primary and secondary, and FE, and then we did HE, and then a couple of weeks ago we shared and facilitated the most mind-bending, boggling conversation I have ever had. And me and Ben were just like, this is the most acronyms I've ever heard of. It was literally edge technology, AI, high-end computing, AMD, research, AI, and we were like, wow, this is really the future, not just beyond everything else. But it's nice to have that conversation around all sectors and roles within education. Researchers is not something that we've had. If you're a researcher and you're high-end in that field, we'd love to hear from you as well, because ultimately it's not just about teaching and learning. There are so many co-professionals in education. And where did that come from? Where did the fact that Lenovo, Microsoft and AMD wanted a partnership, and they said, it's not about pushing a brand. We love the work that you're doing. Can you facilitate a conversation around this? And we want some experts on that just have a conversation with you. And we were just so lucky, and we had some big attendance from the US. Hopefully they got our sense of humour.
Well, we got invited back, didn't we? So
we did, mate. They must have done.
That suggests that they must have done. And I think on all of those conversations, and I know there were 3 in total, and we had Kern in on one of them because Steve was away washing his hair, so golfing, yeah. And no, but we had Kern Kelly on, who's a good friend of the Edufuturists podcast, and who came in and talked about actually what does this look like in practice, and that was incredible in that space up in Maine. And what I love about it is that these tech organisations seem to be getting the conversation that we've actually talked about for the half an hour on this call, which has been they are all enablers. We said that in the trends booklet this year that we launched, and we're obviously going to be launching a new one in Uprising 2025. But in that trends booklet, we talked about how technology is an enabler, and how technology is not an end in itself. It's supposed to support what needs to be done. And in all three of those podcasts, in their webinars for Lenovo, Microsoft, and AMD, they were all about, yes, this is the tech and this is what it does. This is how good it is. But it was about how that enables really, really good teaching and learning, research, and all the stuff that goes along that. And I think if you think about if we can empower education through this technological innovation, and it enables that different way of looking at stuff, it's a really powerful combination, isn't it? It's technology with this pedagogy. It's that idea that it's not just tech for tech's sake. It's purposeful tech that enables real innovation and real transformation. That's the goal.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing where people are naive to think that everybody says, "Oh, they're in it to make money." It's a business. Like, ultimately, everybody's in the business, but ultimately, what we ask and respect from these and want, and the way that the conversations go are, we're not going to do a hard sell and a push. What we're interested in is the future of education, and if you are an enabler and a tech organisation that wants to work with us, it's not about metrics. We got some great people on the webinars, brilliant. But our whole sell is work with us because we're passionate, and so is our community around the future of education and changing it. If you're just interested in how many people are going to buy your product, we're probably not going to be the people to talk to. Remember the Wayne's World thing? I mean, Ben had the joke, that whole thing. If you've seen Wayne's World, where they said, we won't sell out, and then he does all the product placement thing, all the humour, going back to Neil Malarkey. I had a conversation about that the other day, Mike Myers, and all this craziness. Two ADHD guys on the call doing a podcast, interested. But anyway, go back to the point, Steve. But I think it's all that thing of we are and have been doing this for a long period of time. We're working with partners, but we have no intention of selling out and selling our soul to any corporate body or devil. We want to transform everything, and we want to do it in the right way because we want to make a difference, and we want people and continue in 2025, 2026, and however long that we have this opportunity, this wonderful opportunity to have this voice, to have the conversation around the future of education, because it's an infinite game. It's a never-ending story, and ultimately, it'd be wonderful is some of these things that we've been having conversations moving forward, that we don't have to bang the drum because assessment has changed, and actually we aren't focusing on that the future becomes reality is going to be a wonderful space that when we're still having these conversations, that we just feel that it isn't just us that have changed it, but we've collectively as a community and you listening have really helped change and made meaningful change so the future becomes the norm. Imagine that world, everybody. And this is why we're leveraging and working with these partners, because they have the power and the investment to help us.
Yeah. And I think what it excites me, and if somebody, I suppose, by definition, all day, every day, I feel like I'm trying to stay ahead of the curve from a technology, and it's impossible because the tech's moving at a pace. But like when we're thinking about AI and we're thinking about quantum computing and we're thinking about cloud-based and we're thinking about on-demand, even things like Neuralink and all the levels of technology that's going down there, and automation and robotics and all the incredible stuff that is on the horizon, like education is having to shift, and it's having to. It can put its head in the sand, it can put its fingers in its ears, or it can go, do you know what? We might never be able to be at the front end of that curve because by nature, the technology, the innovators, the disruptors are doing that. But we can be responsive and we can really think about the young people and the rest of the learners, because it's not just about kids in schools, it's about universities, it's about lifelong learning, it's about career development, it's about learning development in business places. Ultimately, we have a responsibility to be agile, to be adaptive. We have a responsibility to really say that just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean we have to do it that way forever. And even though we've written hundreds of blogs, hundreds of podcasts, we've done all these webinars, we've spoken at these events, and we've managed to, it's been incredible. We've got a member down at Haberdashers on that live podcast we did down there, and some of the presentations we've done at some of the colleges and schools and events and all the things that are coming in 2025 and beyond. Like, what all of that sits with is this desire to be. I don't want to be the people that just keep having to talk about technology and enablers and what it could look like. It's that idea of how do we make it happen? How do we make it happen? And what would it look like if school didn't look like it does like now? What would it look like if education, learning was truly equitable, was truly personalised, was truly inclusive? That would be I'd be more than happy to put my microphone down, take my iPods out, and go, this is where we are. We've arrived. We know it is an infinite game, but that's where we're going, right? We want to be the people. We're not just going to try and keep banging the drum just to keep a thing going. So yeah, I don't know where we're going with that, but I thought that was important just to kind of mention.
Does. I think we want to be change makers. We want to support it, and we want to be with everybody that listens a voice for change, positive influence, and celebrate the successes and the wins like we do every year. In regards to there are some great successes and great stories to tell, and showcase to then say these are the breadcrumbs that we follow to the change. This isn't something that we're redesigning, that these things are happening and we have the breadcrumbs to then say, look at the blueprints, this is what's been done here, this is what's been done here, this is what we can do. But we need more of it. We need more of a voice, and the dance is getting stronger. There's more people dancing the dance. But imagine the Edufuturists Festival where everybody's dancing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And do you know what? Like, I also want to mention this before we talk about what might be coming up and all the other bits that we're excited about, and just some exciting things that we're excited about. Exciting things that well, I've just said the third thing. Anyway, is we will call shit out. And that's the thing, right? Yes, we're excited about where things could be. Yes, we are talking about pushing the envelope, but we'll also call shit. Like, when people are trying to say that this is a solution that'll solve all these problems, and we've then gone, okay, well, what's the problem that it's solving? Or if somebody's trying to say that this is what young people need, and this is what learners need, and this is what teachers need, and this is where schools, or people bang on about like the important things about making sure that young people understand rules and regulations and following, like, we'll call bullshit, because that is, like, we've lived in a world where the system, whatever that system has been designed to enforce compliance to a standard that's been a factory model, that's been a very much a conveyor belt of one size fits all. And so when we see that, and when we see that forced fun or forced learning or forcing the ways to go, and then we've not thought about inclusivity, we've not thought about young people's interests, we've not thought about the impact that this has socially and economically, like, we'll call bullshit, right? And that, I think that's where sometimes we might get ourselves in trouble, and sometimes we don't get invited into certain spaces because we're not just going to play the part to always toe the party line, are we? And that's okay. We'd much rather be that and be authentic in who we are, to call things. And if we're wrong, like, let's be really honest, Steve. I think both of us, certainly in the last 12 months, have gone, yeah, we haven't always got that right, and we've had to hold our hands up. And every one of both of us in this room will go, if we're wrong, tell us we're wrong, and we'll hold our hands up and we'll say that. We're not going to die on a hill that we're wrong on. But yeah, I think it's important that we have both sides of the coin. We're hopefully optimistic, but we're also going to call it out.
Yeah, never afraid to call it out. Call ourselves out.
Yeah,
call everybody out.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that authenticity that we bring, that honest approach to everything that we do. Just two Yorkshire lads. Two Yorkshire lads.
Don't talk
two
me
Yorkshire
that.
lads. Two Yorkshire lads and one lad. Well, one Yorkshire lad, one lad that wishes he were from Yorkshire, but yeah, we just, and you know what? We're just having fun doing it as well.
Yeah,
hopefully
sure.
you're having us fun listening to it. Hopefully we give you, whether you're listening in the car or whether you're listening and just taking 5 minutes because you're on holiday from the kids and you've decided actually you want to go back to work and it's only Monday, or it's like the first Monday of the new year, and you or whatever, and you just go in, oh my God, can't wait for the 6th of January. Get me back in school. You'll soon want to be back there. So just whatever you're doing, just hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully you enjoy the waffle and the wind. and all of the stuff that we do. But there's some content within there that's real meaningful and meaningful change and everything else. We are really excited for January. We've got some wonderful guests coming up. Please, and thanks for listening. And like Ben said, nominate people, nominate guests, nominate people that are potentially worthy winners of any of the Edufuturists Awards for the Uprising on the 26th of June 2025. But before that, we've got BETT in a very short space of time, about 4 weeks. We will be at BETT. We will see you there. But before BETT even starts, the Tuesday before BETT, we've got the Canva event, and we're working around that agenda. We're almost gone in terms of tickets, but if there's still some tickets, head onto the website and sign up. And just for the first, and again, you just look at it and you go, we'll be the first event. This correct, Ben? The first event at the brand new Canva HQ in London.
Yep.
How did we land that?
They asked us, like, this is the bit. This is like, it's crazy. Like, we talked about an event, and then we were like, it'd be cool to bring the community together, and then they went, well, we want you to do that here, and it's just like it'll be incredible. 22nd of January, tickets edufuturists.com/BETT. You can find out about all the stuff we're doing at BETT, including that Canva event. You can get, if there are some tickets left, I don't know if there will be by the time this goes out, but if there is, you can grab them. They are free. They're covered by Canva, which is incredible. Canva are putting on some food and drinks for us in that space, and the agenda will come out. Some of the stuff that we're going to do, we're just going to bring the community together. I'm really excited for 2025, mate. Like, we've got some cool things, with some things that we can't talk about yet, that are just on signing terms, which is cool. And who knows? Like, if you've got an event that you're thinking these lads would be great in that space, or if you've got a webinar idea, or you've got some workshops, or you're thinking about, we just want to align ourselves to this. We're all ears. It's not all about the money. Genuinely, we don't do this as a making loads of money. We do it because we're passionate about it and we want to help people. And we started this. You'll remember, Steve, because I know you listened and you came to our very first thing. When me and Dan started this years ago, and we called it In the Studio with the EduTech Project, it was about teachers helping teachers. And now, although we're not teachers now, we still care passionately about helping teachers, helping those people in that space, and just really doing things that push that needle for the future education. So 2025, here we go. Happy New Year, everybody, when it comes, and we'll see you very, very soon. Is there anything we missed, Steve? Anything you wanted to say that week there?
Well, everybody's had a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2025 at many, many different places, in many different spaces, but the same two faces. We are so excited. I'm a poet, I didn't even know it. Get ready for it, everybody. 2025 is going to be massive. And if you didn't know, I'm writing my own album. Get ready for it. I'm only joking.
Are you doing it in partnership with Gary Barlow or no?
No, I am Gary Barlow. So yeah. Just remember
official, that. The very last word. Steve is Gary Barlow. Thanks, ladies and gents. That's going to
be all over social media. Have a wonderful time, everybody, and see you soon.
Bye.
Join over 30,000 educators at London's Excel in January 2025 at BETT UK. Headlining the arena, we have Stephen Fry, Dan Fitzpatrick, and Rose Luckin, to name just a few. There are 100 hours of CPD accredited sessions, from table talks to tech user labs, and over 600 exhibitors to inspire you with new technology for the new year. Educators, get your free ticket today at uk.bettshow.com.